So what have you got for them this week, Tim?
Well, this week we're going to be looking at Alan Rickman's new film, gardening epic, A Little Chaos.
Excellent.
And also we'll be going deep into Stalinist Russia for Child 44. Also, we're going to be talking to local Lift-Off competition film winner, Glenn Hanstock.
Great. So, see you in a minute.
The Palace of Versailles shall be the heart of our kingdom, with gardens of exquisite and matchless beauty. Heaven shall be here.
First up is A Little Chaos, directed by
Alan Rickman, our own Alan Rickman. What do we think?
Yeah, a little gem of a movie, really.
I thought it was excellent, yeah.
I mean, there's no great... This might sound contradictory, but there's no great drama there, is there? There's no jeopardy there at the heart of it. But it's
a continuing situation, really, isn't
absolutely. It's about relationships. It's set during the reign of Louis XIV. Rickman plays Louis XIV,
yes.
Who gets his... Brilliantly, gets his architect...
and landscape
gardener Lenotre to commission some designs for the gardens at Versailles.
Yeah, cut to Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet as Madame de Barra.
And I must admit, Kate Winslet is Kate Winslet, but she really comes to her own in this.
She inhabits the role, doesn't she?
Really, and she's charming. There's a lot of vulnerability there.
Yeah, she's got some ghosts in her.
She's got which you find out about. But it's the overall. What I liked was there's about 2 or 3 scenes that the emotion content was just beautiful.
Oh, the scene with the king, obviously played by Rickman, and Winslet in the garden where the king's masquerading as a gardener.
That's right.
It's almost Shakespearean, isn't it?
Yeah, some beautiful lines in there. But it might not be for everyone's taste, but it really does. It hits its own targets. It's set beautifully. And Stanley Tucci's in there as Louis' brother.
That's right, the court dandy, really.
Yeah, the court dandy, and he has some great lines and a great character.
Helen McCrory's in there. The superb Helen McCrory as Matthias Schoenaerts plays Lenotre. He's one to watch, ladies, because he's got a few films coming up in the next few months.
Kate Winslet's love interest.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Stephen Waddington plays the Kate's number one
foreman
rival
originally, and then becomes. But this whole thing is just beautifully realised. How realistic historically it is. I mean, I think Rickman. You said Rickman.
Rickman has said that this wouldn't happen in true to the times. That a woman wouldn't have been placed in such a position of responsibility. But that aside, it's a great story. Another scene, the women of the court, when they're talking about the
analogy
grief.
Of the rose. Sorry, they're talking about grief, but we can't really tell you much about that. But there's another one where she presents the king with a rose and talks about that, and that is a beautiful scene. So, if you like period drama, and if you like heavaveights like Rickman,
this is another film, by the way, co-produced by BBC Films.
Good on them.
We've talked a lot about BBC Films in the last couple of months, but I think this is one of the better efforts. And
he manages to make it obviously on a modest budget, look cinematic.
Yeah. Well, Ellen Kuris's cinematography is never showy. It's not chocolate box. The whole thing, nothing was shot in France. It's all shot in Britain, though it pertains to be the Palace of Versailles.
Kind of the opposite to Tess, isn't it?
Yeah.
All shot in France.
Yes, absolutely.
Stonehenge here.
Yeah, but I think we thoroughly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Although the elements may treat us cruelly, in the end we have only our instincts. Patience, care, and a little warmth from the sun are our best hope.
go on your own.
Okay, for our second film, Child 44.
Yeah, we go into
1950s Stalinist Russia.
I mean, in the opening scenes alone, some of the statistics that are put on screen are quite harrowing.
25,000 people a
Per
day
starved.
died of hunger, starvation.
25 million in total.
Under Stalinist rule.
I mean, it's terrifying. So the film deals with this highly potent era of paranoia and secret police and are you a good citizen?
Yeah.
And into that mix we've got sort of reluctant war hero Leo Dimitrov, played by Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Who does a good job.
Yeah, I think he's very good in the role. Standout. Who's married to Naomi Rice.
Yeah.
And of course, the thing is that he's asked to investigate her to see if she is actually a traitor.
Yeah.
And which she does or refuses to, really.
And then in the backdrop, we have a series of child murders, but the paradox here is in the paradise which is communism and Russian state, there are no murders.
Yeah,
there can be no crime because
Stalinist has ruled it out.
Yeah, so when there is a crime, there's always a strange explanation given.
Swept under the carpet.
Swept under the carpet. So you've got this story about a man and a woman. Mm-hmm. You've got this story about the regime.
But this is what the problem.
You've got this sort of serial killer.
You see, as Tony explains it, he's putting it into as the film does, subplots. But what you get is a film of subplots, but no real through main plot.
It's like they didn't have complete conviction in any of the areas.
Yeah. This is Tom Rob Smith's bestseller. It's done great business.
So, and I've spoke to a few people who've read the book, and they've already said the book is incredible.
Yeah. Richard Price is adapting it here for the screen.
Yeah.
And I think maybe some of the fault must go to him. In fact, a lot of it is the structure. Screenplays are structure, as William Goldman himself said, and I think this is most evident here. They didn't get that right. Daniel Espinola, the director, could have done something.
I think he could have
come
done
in earlier.
I think he could have done more with that problem.
Yeah.
It's all very handheld, quite modern looking, which kind of for me opposes what we're looking at.
But to me, it did look like Stalinist Russia.
There's the grey palettes and the dark.
The grey-blue palettes is very well conveyed.
My biggest thing, of course, we got Gary Oldman in there.
Gary Oldman wasted because he's underused.
He's underused, and he's more than a match for Tom Hardy and for everyone. And when he's on the screen, he's incredible. The only thing is, it doesn't know if it's a serial killer mystery. It doesn't know if it's a political
satire.
Blah,
blah, blah.
You just don't. Or it's a relationship study. I guess it's trying to be all of those three, but doesn't really
fails
go
to
deep
convey
enough
any of them
on any of them. I think you'd be more frustrated.
I tell you, the film that it kind of reminded me of, and I think does it more successfully, is Gorky Park.
Yeah, I was thinking Lee Marvin.
Yeah. Michael Apted's Gorky Park. William Cruz Smith, I think, wrote the novel for that.
Yeah.
There's a sense of that, but I think I would go to Gorky Park for the stronger thriller elements. Paddy Constantine is in there.
The
serial killer story is sort of it's to a point it's a mystery, and then all of a sudden they seem to just give it away, hand it over to the audience without any dramatic.
And then everything's resolved quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then there's a strange ending, which
they're setting up. I think they're setting up another.
There's a definite sequel. See what you think.
Yeah.
All children. Ages 9 to 14. 43, you know.
44. My friend's son was murdered too.
So that's it for part one.
Part two, we've got an interview with local filmmaker Glenn Hanstock.
And we'll be also looking at what's coming up on your TV this week.
Okay, well now we're here talking to local filmmaker Glenn Hanstock.
But first, we're going to have a look at Glenn's trailer for Tickle the Ivories.
Is music a universal language?
Music?
I'd go further.
All you've got to work with is 8 notes.
Music is a cosmic language. It is the language of everything and everyone.
I can't imagine a world without music at all.
It lightens a mood instantly the minute you hear it. It's just something about the way it starts, isn't it?
Been taught to read music or nothing like that. Just, you know, just been sort of getting away with it for years, if you like.
Glenn, thanks for coming in to Arts Alive. Great to meet you. First of all, before we start talking about the film, can you give us some background detail? How did it all begin for you as a filmmaker? I know you're not from these shores, so start somewhere around there.
Okay. Well, first, you know, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to come on
and
talk to you guys. I came through. I played music in the 90s. Kind of Britpop was my time. I was in a band called Polanski with the original guitarist from the Charlatans. But I was always interested in film. Moved to Liverpool in the late 90s and went through university as a mature student, and that was where my passion for filmmaking grew.
Okay.
And I see really kind of, when we're going to progress to talk about the film, it's kind of it's bringing the two things together, because I find that, you know, what I was passionate about is now being told through the films that I'm making.
Okay, so those first films, were they documentaries that you?
No, the first films that I actually made were music videos.
Right.
Great way to cut your teeth.
Yeah, sort of electronic music, because I was still dabbling in music at the time, but then I realised that my passion really was for the image, really.
Okay.
So I've got to ask, what type of stuff do you watch yourself? Who's big in your visual world?
Best film I've seen this year, without a shadow of a doubt, is Whiplash.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Great.
Incredible film.
Yeah.
I mean, I find that large. I'm not saying I'm opposed to large budget films, but I find that you get large budget effects laden films at the expense of script and story. And I think when you become serious about the art form itself, that's what you're looking for, really.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what led your filmmaking path? How did you get to Tickling the Ivories? Give us a quick resume of...
Okay, so early films were entered, you know, there were music videos, then progressed from music into narrative. Narrative shorts, which was screened at Kino in Manchester, and also Fact, Liverpool Film Night. Picked up a couple of commercial commissions. Did some work with LA Productions on Jimmy McGovern's Moving On, shadowing as a director, and then I directed for them. And then I started to realise that I had this kind of, the idea of documentary really appealed to me, telling real stories, and also putting the conventions of film, of narrative, into documentaries. You know, if you think about great documentary, films like The Imposter, films like Blackfish, you know, these kind of films, they're using all the conventions that you find in a narrative, but it's in the documentary form. And that's really what led me to Tickle the Ivories, really.
Great, so there we are, Tickling the Ivories. How did you get it set up? Where did the idea come from? Okay,
so the idea came from probably just over 12 months ago. I was walking around a day very similar to today, and there were pianists playing in Liverpool 1. And I started to realise, I thought the piano is this conduit, it brings together these amazing characters. I approached Open Culture Liverpool 1 and said, you know, introduced myself and said, I've got this idea for a documentary. And they luckily they went for it. I said, look, I'll work for free, but you need to give me free rein to do, or to tell the story as I want to tell it. And very luckily, as I thought, you know, the characters that we found were just incredible. So it was about their story, really, and their passion for music. That was the question. You know, a great documentary asks a question, and that's what I was trying to do.
So one of the problems you must have faced was the material that they would play. You need clearance rights and stuff. So how did you get around that?
Okay, so the way that I got around that was, all the music that you hear in the film is either an original composition or it's in the public domain. The soundtrack that you hear, the electronic soundtrack, because the idea I had was like Drive with pianos.
Right.
Love it.
Because I think Drive is an amazing film.
It is a good one.
A guy called Chris Zabrinski from Florida, I approached him because as soon as I heard his music on Free Music Archive, I thought this has got to be the score.
Okay.
Minimalist piano music, very emotive. And I approached him, I said, look, I'm doing this documentary, and luckily he came on board. So all the music that you hear is either in the public domain or it's original.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was it working with the public? Did you have much problem with that?
To be honest, it was great. It was fine. I mean, we found that, initially the idea was to include members of the public. But as the shooting went on, as is the documentary format, you have the idea of the question you're trying to ask as a director. But the thing evolves as you make it.
Yes.
It's one of the greatest days. I wasn't happy. It was about the 4th day of shooting, so I went out to do some pickups on my own, and a little girl, a beautiful girl, sat at the piano, and I managed to spin the camera around, and her mum went to pull her away, and I said, no, can you just leave her at the piano? And when you see the film, it was just, I knew as I was shooting, I thought...
It's a pivotal moment.
Yeah, this was
Great,
kind of...
isn't it?
You know, as a director where you're thinking, oh no, it's not working. That happened, and also a guy from Leeds called Cleve Freckleton, who was an amazing character. He put the soul into the film. Right. He really did. So yeah, it was fantastic, really. I think Liverpool, in general, the people here are fantastic anyway.
So the film has met with some success, hasn't it? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it started really well. We've just recently won Best Documentary at Lift-Off Festival 2015.
Well done.
And we're going to screen in LA, Las Vegas, Tokyo, Amsterdam and London. And I've just found out yesterday that we've been picked up for Plymouth Film Festival and also Videotech at Sheffield Doc Fest, which I'm really pleased about.
Brilliant.
The thing with documentary courses, you're at the mercy, as you say, of the moment. What type of schedule did you put yourself under? How long did it take to complete?
The initial shooting was 2 weeks. We had I approached Liverpool One and said, look, we want to shoot, but we're going to be here all day. Because I didn't want to be tied to any kind of constraints, and also the fact that, as I said, the example I gave where the little girl turned up at the piano, that was just that moment that happened.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. That you just have to grab. So we shot over 2 weeks, and then the pickups were done possibly over another 2, so it's about a month.
Fabulous. So very briefly, where do you go from here now, your career?
Well, at the moment, we've also got a premiere at Light Night, and that's the actual premiere of the film because it's not on the internet at the moment. So there were 2 exclusive screenings at FACT. After that...
When will that be?
It's on the 15th, Friday the 15th of May.
Okay.
And in terms of myself, my career, I'm looking for the next idea, looking for the next documentary idea. Been approached with a script, but the more I think about it, I want to produce another documentary. And then also look at working with, London production companies in the documentary format as a director.
Excellent. Glenn, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's have a look at some of the films coming your way on your television screens in the next couple of days.
Well, first up for me was the remake of the Norwegian thriller Insomnia, starring Al Pacino and Robin Williams.
This is Chris Nolan's take on it.
Christopher Nolan's take on it. I thought it was a great film. I do love the original, but this one is a good one. There's some particularly juicy scenes where so-called killer and cop meet on this ferry, and there's some great... a
nice ambivalent character Pacino playing here.
Yeah.
Almost a reflection of the guy he's hunting, which is a nice noirish touch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But of course, because it's set where it is, its daylight is almost 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Pacino is suffering from insomnia through various things, a guilty conscience included, and there's a surreal quality to it.
It is a surreal quality, but there's also Robin Williams plays one of his first forages into adult kind of against type.
That's right. Okay, well that's Wednesday.
Well worth a watch.
That's Wednesday, BBC One, 11:15, but also on Movie Mix at 9 o'clock, same night, we've got Almost Famous, Cameron Crowe's expose of the rock scene, 1970s style.
Hinted at that it was because they got their own jet, it's like Led Zeppelin or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Billy Crudup, great actor.
If you're a rock fan, this one's for you. A young journalist follows a rock band across country. Superb. Okay, and then
well worth a look.
ITV4, keeping the rock theme going. The nostalgia going. Is Quadrophenia, Frank Rodham's take on the Who musical Odyssey opera.
Yeah, if you've seen this, you like the album, it's well worth it. It's well
established sort of Phil Daniels, Sting's in there. Toya Wilcox is in there. They're all in there. But yeah, really, it's a nice
great film
to go back. And then of course we've got the Bourne Ultimatum on Bourne Supremacy. I beg your pardon. That's on Friday. ITV2 9:00. This is the second in the series that established Matt Damon as a super secret agent, Jason Bourne. Joan Allen is in there as well. It really kicks up the gears now.
Oh yeah, they've really found their feet.
Paul Greengrass
first. First forage into it.
Okay.
Lots of handheld stuff, and is one of my personal favourites. Friday on Channel 4 is
With Nail and I. It's superb. If you haven't seen this, Bruce Robinson's
our own Paul McGann and Richard E. Grant as two out of work actors.
End of the 60s.
If you've not seen this, it's absolutely brimming with quotable lines.
Yeah, indeed.
Excellent
great comedy.
Great
see that.